And I'm joined now by the Malzberg panel, Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, contributing editor at National Review, best-selling author, and Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, author of the New York Times bestseller, The Corruption Chronicles. Okay, gentlemen. Andy, I want to start with you real quick on this. The breaking news is that they have identified the machete-wielding maniac at the Ohio restaurant who wounded several people yesterday. It turns out he is a Muslim named Mohammed Barry, according to various reports, and he was on a terrorist watch list. Your reaction?
Well, yet again, that they'll now say that he was a lone wolf, and the indications are, if I can invoke my friend Pat Poole's expression, he's clearly a known wolf. So somebody who was on our radar screen and who obviously wasn't being watched closely enough, and I unfortunately think you're going to see more and more of this as we back away from proactive terrorism, or counterterrorism, which I think is not the FBI's idea, but it's their political master's idea.
And we should point out, you're exactly right. The law enforcement is concerned that this has the hallmark of what they call a lone wolf terrorist attack. This is a report that CBS got a hold of, so you're absolutely right. And let me just say that this restaurant was owned in Ohio by an Israeli Christian. So, gee, I wonder why he picked that. All right, let's get to Hillary, and let me first go to Tom. Tom, you watched the debate last night. I assume not one question, and I discussed this with Dana Milbanker right before you guys came on. Not one question from the two women moderators or from Bernie Sanders about the fact that the Inspector General of the State Department subpoenaed records from the Clinton Foundation. That broke yesterday. Not boo about it.
Well, Bernie Sanders is proving himself to be a Democrat. This is a scandal that would impact not just Mrs. Clinton, but Bill Clinton, Chelsea Clinton, who knows who else in the administration. So that's why he's not raising it. Then you had a supposed Clinton donor asking some of the questions. But frankly, the whole political campaign on both sides of the aisle, they're whistling past the graveyard, every one of those candidates, in ignoring the sword of Damocles hanging over our political fight this year, which is the likely indictment, which I think is almost certain at this point, given reading the tea leaves of Mrs. Clinton. I can't imagine her not being indicted or pleading out and ending her campaign. And the question is, who else would be subject to a criminal investigation? Right. I think that's what's going on here. The IG investigation into Huma Abedin by the State Department, my guess, is pretty darn weak. What Fox News has reported, there's an FBI investigation into what Mrs. Clinton and the Clinton Foundation was doing. Remember, we had uncovered documents showing it wasn't the Clinton Foundation that got a bunch of money while she was there. Obviously it did. But she did, too, through her husband's speaking fees.
Right.
All the folks that people are complaining about giving money to her after the Secretary of State position, like Goldman Sachs that she spoke to afterwards.
She got it
wild. They
wild.
were paying her directly through her husband, even while she was Secretary of State.
And Andy, you wrote a great piece at the corner at National Review about Hillary's emails now spreading far and wide.
Yeah, well, what we now know is, and I should say, since Tom is here, a lot of this we know because
Absolutely.
of the report of Judicial Watch. Yep. Without what they've really essentially done, we'd have almost none of this. But we now know, based on the reporting coming out of Catherine Herridge at Fox, that emails of a national defense nature, that is classified emails, went over that private, non-secure system and went through somewhere between 12 and as many as 30 private email accounts. Meaning, to my mind, it's inevitable that not only was the information not in the place that it was supposed to be, which is a crime, but that people who clearly did not have the clearances to have access to it got access to it, which is also a felony.
All right, and do you agree with Tom, Andy, that there's no way she cannot be indicted or be forced, to plea bargain or something?
Well, I'm more cynical than Tom is in that regard. Although I hope he's right, but I do agree with him that emphatically that this is the most peculiar election I've ever seen. The fact that the Democrats would play Russian roulette like this with the presidency of the United States and basically dare the FBI and the Justice Department with the idea that the stakes are too high for them to pull the trigger on an indictment is about as irresponsible as anything you can imagine.
And Tom, where do you stand now with expecting more emails, and do you have more your FOIA requests in, and where are you?
Yeah, there are more emails that are coming out. There are more Benghazi emails that will be coming out. And remember, Hillary Clinton only turned over half her emails.
Yeah.
So there are going to be fights about that. And we were just told, guys, that the State Department found thousands of documents in the Secretary of State's office that no one's ever looked at before.
I don't want to laugh like Hillary, but I can't help myself. Andy McCarthy, Tom Fitton, thank you both very, very much. Always appreciate you coming on. Folks, we're going to be taking your calls in the next segment, 877 Newsmax, and a very special new feature coming up. You're not going to want to miss it, so don't go away.